This guy, the protagonist, Hideo, was not meant to see his dead parents who died when he was 12, and he took a subway ride out to the neighborhood where he used to live, and he meets his parents, who are ghosts that are alive and well, looking the way they did in the 50s, and they keep having him over for dinner, but it's somehow making him look older and look worse. And also, he thought that he was the only person that lived in this office building where he, for some reason, has an apartment. But there's a woman named Kay who comes and knocks on his door one night. And he's a writer of soap operas, which fits with the recurring theme of opera, playing Puccini's Oh, My Dear Papa, playing over and over through the film. And this guy writes soap operas. And this woman that shows up at his door is a fan of his writing, and he rebuffs her rather rudely, but he'd just been through something that I'll get to in a minute. But she keeps turning up, and they get into a sexual relationship, but there's a caveat that he has to only do it from behind because he can't see the front of her because she has scars. So he really wants to see the front of her, and that's forbidden. And he shouldn't keep going to see his parents because it seems to be draining away his life. So that's forbidden. And that fits with my feelings about this film. Another thing I would say is that this is a movie about guilt. Hideo is divorced. He's not been a good father. He feels like he's not been a good son, as a tribute to his parents, who were pretty nice people, who were very practical, down-to-earth people, and now he's this dickhead yuppie. And he has guilt for driving Kay away the first night that she came to his door. And so you could argue that a lot of the supernatural things that he sees are just manifestations of his guilt, if you wanted to. And there's a friend of his best friend, who starts and ends the movie, who really begins all of this action by basically dumping Hideo as a friend. He says, I can't, and they also work together. I can't be your friend anymore. I can't work with you anymore because I want to date your ex-wife. And this is what starts Hideo spiraling into seeing his dead parents, into this strange and possibly destructive relationship with Kay. And then what bookends the movie is when his best friend comes back to him and helps him fight his demons, and then gives him an out. At the very end, he says, well, maybe you were just stressed, even though the friend did see some things happening that couldn't be explained. He gives him an out. I don't know what the inclusion of the Puccini means in terms of the theme of the opera, which was from a minor character in Dante's Inferno, who Dante said was in hell because of something about faking a will. And so Puccini made a whole opera about that one moment in the Inferno. But it plays over and over. Mostly the woman Kay plays the opera over and over. I will say that a couple of things on a personal note. You know how they have rules about horror movies, especially slasher movies? That was a big part of Scream. Well, I have rules about supernatural horror movies, and my possibly in first place rule is that if a woman just apropos of nothing shows up at your door demanding romance from you, it's probably a ghost. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care how fine you are. I don't care how big a pile of cocaine you have or money. Uh, Women don't tend to do that. So if you're in a horror movie and a woman just shows up out of the blue, maybe don't get involved. As far as Hideo seeing his dead parents, I had this strange dream a few years ago that my grandparents and then my granddaddy's second wife, who all have passed on, all three came to me, and they said, we just wanted to stop by and say hello. We're together in heaven and we're all going to go out to lunch. But then my step grandmother, who I was not as close to as my biological grandmother and grandfather, she stayed behind after they went out the door, and she said, I got to tell you something. And then my brain went crazy and turned her into a Japanese style ghost with the white dress and the black hair, and a ghost. And she was like, okay, I'll go. And I wish I knew what she had been going to say, even if it was my subconscious, because that lady, my step grandmother, was as interested in ghosts as I am. Maybe I dreamed that because of the Discarnates. Maybe it comes all the way around. I don't know. What do you think that the Puccini piece being repeated throughout the film means? Because I understand the forbidden, I understand the guilt and the yuppie imposter syndrome and everything else, but I don't really understand that, other than a joke about him writing soap operas, and here's this woman who's a fan of his soap operas who's playing opera all the time. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more of my theories, more of my personal stories woven into analysis of the strange movies that I can find, however I can find them. And stay on the line for more. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.